everyone, my name is Gracie and happy Africa Podcast Day to you. So exciting to be here today. I'll be sharing with you quickly on a topic on amplifying your voice as an African podcaster. Um, just a little introduction about myself before we go deep into what we are here for. Um, so I'm going to present my screen. Okay. So once again, hello everybody. My name is Gracie. I am APVA's Communications and Partnerships Manager. I'm also a podcaster. So yes, this celebration involves me too. And alongside my podcasting journey, I'm into podcast management. I'm into podcast content creation, and I also love to spend time with my family and friends apart from work. Yes, no, you need to have a balanced life. Okay, guys. In case you don't know, I work with APVA, as I've said before. And if you don't know about APVA, I would like to give you a short intro about who we are. So the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists is a community-driven organization that seeks to discover, amplify, and celebrate the African voice and audio creatives, that is podcasters, voice artists, spoken word artists. I don't know if you've heard of APVA, APVA, APVA Awards. That's us, right? So APVA aspires to elevate African voices and to also highlight the efforts of creatives, motivate other creatives, and at the same time to develop and let us grow together. Now, there are so many dimensions of APVA. APVA is not just about the awards. APVA is not just about our community. APVA is as an association, APVA as an academy, as the awards, as the repository, as the match, sounds, and radio. If you want to find out more about us, you should visit www.apva.africa to learn a lot much more about us. Now to the topic, amplifying your voice as an African podcaster. First of all, why should we amplify our voice as African podcasters? Podcasting is very popular now. There are a lot of podcasters everywhere. Like every day, somebody is like, I'm starting a new podcast. I have a story to share. Now, as Africans, our story is very special. What we have is so special and unique. And using podcasts, we can share this story to a wider range of people. I love podcasting. Why? Because podcasting elevates you. Podcasting sets you all out to the world. Now, why should you use a podcast as your tool for amplification? First of all, to share your unique perspective and experiences. Sharing your experiences, sharing your unique perspective, sharing your story can help you stand out in a crowded podcasting space. As Africans, we have our stories, whether it's from days of our early fathers, whether it's our parents' days, there is always a story to tell as an African. So when we share our unique stories, when we share our unique experiences, it can help us to connect with listeners who share similar backgrounds and experiences wherever they are. You can also use your podcast to connect to a global audience and build a community. Podcasting is not just about talking and releasing episodes. It's also about building a community. You build a community around your content, and this will help you to elevate and reach a wider audience. Because remember, when people can relate with what you are saying, when people can follow you and listen and know that, oh, this person is saying something, this person knows what I understand, this person feels what I feel, then they can connect with you better. And podcasting gives us that edge. Now, why use podcasts as a tool for amplification? It's also an opportunity to showcase your African talent and creativity. Thank God for the internet. We can see a lot of African talent everywhere. Now we thank God for podcasts, because with podcasts, we can share and amplify our voices, whether it's song, whether it's you being a poet, whether it's your storytelling. This can help us to tell the world about who we really are and break down stereotypes in order to promote a more positive image of Africa, right? Finally, why use podcasts as a tool for amplification? To inspire and empower others through your message. I love to say this, everyone has a message, everyone has a why. Now, your why might be different from my why. That is why your podcast is unique in its own way, to share different messages to different kinds of audiences. So when you share your message, you motivate your listeners, you change someone's life with your voice. And that is so, so powerful. Okay. Now, in amplifying our voices, in reaching out to a wider audience as podcasters, as African podcasters, I would like to say that the first thing you should think of will be your content. What are you creating? In as much as we have different stories, we have different experiences, how you bring it out to life matters a lot. So in this session, I'll be telling you secrets, or they might not be secrets, you might know them, to crafting compelling content as a podcaster. Okay, as I said, content is queen, content is king, and these are some certain things you need to put in place, especially as a podcaster. Your content. Now, in creating content as an African podcaster, know your audience. Who are your audience? Whenever someone wants to start a podcast, or whenever it's people with podcasts, I try to check, who are these people speaking to? My podcast is for young adults. Your podcast might be for mothers. Your podcast might be for children. Know your audience and what they need. So in creating great content, you need to know your audience, understand them in order to give them that rich content that you have. Truth is that you might have a lot, you might have stories, you might have experiences, but if you don't know how to share it, to not reach the right audience, right? So know your audience, know their needs in order to give them the right content. Now, as content creators, as podcasters, because we create content for podcasters, we're content creators, you need to learn how to tell authentic and relatable stories. Storytelling is everything now. Like, it's not just about telling stories. It's about how you say the story. Storytelling is a powerful way to connect, as I said before, because it brings this easy way to understand. It makes it relatable to others. So storytelling is a powerful way to connect with your audience, share relatable stories that showcase your personality and expertise. Don't be boring. Don't be boring. Share that story. You might have an experience. Say it based on you. Like, I tell people, when you record your podcast, imagine you are speaking to one person. Imagine you are speaking to 10 people. That is how it should be. When you imagine that, it will help you to share your story better. So if you find it hard to tell stories with storytelling, just imagine that you're speaking to 10 people. Imagine you're speaking to one person, and imagine you're telling them something like, when you discuss with your friends and family, imagine that. Now, in creating compelling content as a podcaster, you also need to check the kind of topics you treat. In as much as everyone has their own niche, everyone has their own sector, places, stories, you also need to learn how to stay up to date with the latest news and trends in your industry. For example, if your podcast is about child abuse, you need to know what's happening in the world in order to keep your audience updated. You also need to know how to provide value to your audience. And the truth is that the world is evolving. And if you just stay back, you might lose out. So you have to stay up to date with that kind of news, with trends, with information. And how you can do that? Browse online, research, listen to podcasts, watch videos on YouTube, follow people in the industry who are doing great things and would share information with you online. Like, online is such a huge platform. You can get so much information from and learn from. Now, another way in creating nice content and creating great content as a podcaster would be to use engaging formats and storytelling techniques. I don't like to keep people in a box. I don't like to say, do this, do that, do this. Everyone is unique. Tell your story in a unique way. Tell your story in an engaging format. Experiment. Like, I know I have an episode whereby I started with storytelling. I have another episode as a podcaster where I did not start with storytelling. So different podcast episodes, different styles. Find your style. Find what your audience loves and use it. It can be interviews. It can be discussions. It can be solo episodes. It can be live episodes. It can be street interviews. You don't know. As far as you can use that platform to share your story, as far as you can use that platform to enhance your voice as a podcaster, find it and make it work for you. Okay. Um, Moving on, how can you use social media and other platforms to leverage your podcast? How can you spread the word about your podcast? I'm so big on this because I tell a lot of people, you can't keep quiet and expect people to hear your story. You can't keep quiet and expect people to know what you do. I think this is a popular line now. You don't keep quiet about what you do. You speak up. And it's the same thing with podcasting. You might have a story, you might have a burning passion in you. However, if you start a podcast and you don't tell anybody about it, nobody would know. If you start a podcast and you don't promote it, no one would know, except maybe by chance. But like you need to tell your story, and how you can reach a wider audience for sure is through social media, because everyone in this world, one way or the other, most people in this world are on social media. Wherever they are, they can connect with you, and that's the beauty of social media, a wider range, which is what you need as a podcaster. Okay. So first of all, choose the right platforms for your audience. For example, if your podcast is an African podcast for children, you know for sure children might not be on Instagram, right? And you know for sure the best way to get children's attention would not necessarily be with maybe interviews. It might be with animations, it might be with storytelling. Are you getting this? So like, use that format. Think of your format and think of your platform. So not all social media platforms are the same, and not all can give you the same kind of impact. In order to amplify your voice as a podcaster, to share your message, pick a platform that works for you and your audience. For example, business owners, you would know that a lot of business owners are on LinkedIn. Now, maybe you should focus on LinkedIn, post your content on LinkedIn, share your episodes on LinkedIn, because that is where your audience is. You get what I'm saying? Then if your audience are in general, maybe young people, young people are everywhere. So they're on Twitter, they're on social media, everywhere, right? So you can pick a platform that works for you. Why I'm saying works for you is because there's something called burnout. Podcasters have burnout too, like you get burnt out. That's why you see a podcaster starts a podcast, goes on for the first year, goes on for the second year, third year, no more episodes, because he or she is burnt out. Content, nope. Not like they don't have content, but like they don't have the strength to continue that because they are drained. So choose the right platforms for your audience. Choose the right platforms. You must not be on all. Pick one or two and leverage on it. Next thing would be to create engaging and shareable content. Create content that is engaging and shareable, relatable. Now, it depends on the platform you're using for social media. If you're using LinkedIn, LinkedIn now has videos, right? So as a podcaster, you create videos, short videos from your episodes. You create posts and share on LinkedIn. If it's Twitter, Twitter is more of tweets, just something short. Do that, something shareable. That's why you see a lot of tweets. People just screenshot and share because it is relatable to them. It is shareable. So in all things you are doing, make your content relatable, engaging, and shareable, right? Use images, use videos. So there's a thing of video podcasts now. I won't go into that, but like, don't be limited. Don't let video podcasting, in case you can't do it now, stop you. Make it short. Make it engaging. Make it short. Like, you can do anything you want to do. As far as engaging and it's shareable, people will check it out too. And for sure, make it good. All right. Another one would be to build a community and engage with your audience. Now, having a podcast, being a podcaster, as I said, is not just you speaking to thin air. It is you communicating with someone who's listening to you, your audience. And as I say, imagine one person is listening to you, 10 people are listening to you. So social media is a two-way conversation. You can't just post and go. You can't just post and keep quiet. You cannot just post on social media and say, okay, they'll figure it out. No, you're engaged. Build it like a family. Engage with your audience. Build a community. Community is key. I see a lot of podcasters having podcast communities. Like, they have people who genuinely love them and follow them, and that has built a community. And trust me, if anything happens today or tomorrow to their podcast, they'll be able to start again because they have built up a community of listeners who love them because of their content and because they are relatable and engaging, just like I've said in the former slides. So learn to respond to comments, messages, and also still on top of trends. If it means joining TikTok, join. If it means having a group chat with your listeners to come together and you guys do some meetups online or physically, if you can do that, right? Another one would be to collaborate with creatives and other podcasters. I am big on this. In the community, APVA community, we are huge on this. We collaborate with each other. We collaborate with other podcasters. And one thing people don't know is that this is one of the best ways to reach a wider audience. Collaboration, meetups, hangouts, all those kind of things. That is a very good way to reach a wider audience. Because imagine this: I am a podcaster, right? Grand Glow Podcast is my podcast, and in APVA community there is another podcaster from Zambia, Wedson, and Wedson is a podcaster. He wants me to be on his podcast, and I agree. I join Wedson on an episode. We have a conversation. Wedson releases the episode. Remember, Wedson has an audience already, right? So Wedson's audience would get to know me, and they will get to know that I have a podcast, and they will get to know I'm part of a PVD community, and whatever. I've gained at least maybe 5% of his followers of his audience. Me from my own end, for sure, I shared the episode I did with Wedson on my WhatsApp status. I share on Instagram. I share on YouTube. My people too say, "Oh, Gracie was on this person's podcast. Let me check him out." And from there, someone might listen to one episode, 2 episodes. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I would like to, be part of this person's podcast, so his podcast community, follow him on social media. And that is how you get into another range of audience and build another community in another country, right? So be big on collaborations this year. Identify those your niche, people you can collaborate together, because it's not just about meeting random people because maybe they're and with your niche. When we say that, that means, again, another example. If you're a health podcaster, you speak on health issues, health this, health that, and you want to speak to a business owner, right, on a topic, or a business owner reaches out to you, and you can see that the topics do not align at all with your niche or with your audience, because your audience is the major thing you should think of, or the story you're trying to pass across, then I think you should rethink it. You must not say yes to everybody. Say yes to those who would help your niche, who would share the same story you're trying to share to the world, and collaborate with them. Be a guest. Reach out to people. Go out for events. All that. Now, as podcasters, as African podcasters, we face a lot. We face a lot of challenges. That one, I won't say too much about it because we all know there's a lot that happens being a podcaster. So in this session, I just want to speak to you on how to overcome these challenges and stay motivated, because it's not easy. Whenever I get the opportunity to speak like this about podcasting, I usually would not want to hide the fact that podcasting is not just come and talk and go. Podcasting is a lot. And when I see podcasters, I clap for them because I know what I passed through. So how do you overcome challenges and stay motivated as an African podcaster? Now, first thing, you should stay focused on your why and your message. As an early beginner podcaster, that was as of 2020 or 2021. I started podcasting in 2020. But as of maybe, I don't know what time in particular, after 3 months of podcasting, I decided to take my podcast to Instagram. And I took my podcast to Instagram. When I said that, I opened an Instagram page for my podcast. I got distracted. I really got distracted because you know how the algorithm works. I started seeing podcasters, I started seeing people who are doing great things in the media world, in the audio creativity world. And I was like, whoa, what am I doing? And I forgot my why. I forgot that the message I wanted to pass across would still be passed across with time. So whenever you feel distracted, whenever you lose focus, whenever you get moved by other people's achievements, even though you should be happy for them, but it's not so easy, right? Remember your why. And when I say your why, I mean what made you start a podcast. Whenever I speak to someone who wants to start a podcast, I ask them, write down your why. Because the truth is that if you don't have it written down, you might forget. And when you have such situations like this, you would not be able to remember what made you start, and you will lose out on it. So as a podcaster, we all have our whys. Why did you start your podcast? What is the message you are trying to pass across to the world? What is that message? Write it down. And whenever you feel yourself getting distracted or losing focus, remember your why. Remember your message. And trust me, that will keep you back on track, because that is the passion, that is the fire you need. Okay, next thing, in preventing, challenges as a podcaster, is to build a network of supportive podcasters. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying start going around. Please be my supportive podcaster. Be my podcaster that will support me. Be a friend. No, you try to build a network. Like I usually talk about being online a lot, because that's the first place you meet different people of different kinds. When you're online, you see a lot of other pages of podcasters and stuff like that. One thing I've learned recently is I don't depend just on the online platform. I go for physical meetups, I go for conferences, I go for events. And that is why when APVA posts their event alert, I usually check it, because I'm like, okay, what event am I going for this month? Where is this happening? I want to be there. I want to connect. If you don't know about that, you should check our website. Yes, we post events, we post opportunities for audio creatives, right? So build a support network, because when you have people around you who can support you, it will motivate you. And I see that in our community too. I keep on mentioning about APVA community, because that's the community I've grown in, and it has been wonderful. There's so many times I hear stories and I'm like, this person can do this, I can do it. So we have a community of African audio creatives. In case you're wondering, you can join us, and you can join us at www.apva.africa. Being in a community of African podcasters is really, really beautiful, because those people understand you. They know what you're saying. When you ask a question, nobody's looking at you like you're odd, because they experience the same thing you're experiencing. So build a community of support, like supportive podcasters around you. Apart from podcasters, you can also just be like in general audio creatives, people who you can ask questions, people who you can open up your heart to be like, okay, I'm trying to edit this episode, I am not able to edit it, what can I do? But it helps you, right? Be part of such communities. Another way to avoid challenges and to also thrive as a podcaster is to continually learn and improve your skills. My first year of podcasting, I tried my best in editing. I did not like it. It wasn't easy. if you edit, you know what I'm saying. It wasn't easy for me. But with time, I realized that it wasn't so easy for me, because I did not know how to do it. So I learned it. So learning how to do video editing, audio editing, and all that. And with time, I've become so good with that I do it by myself, right? So the podcasting landscape is constantly evolving. Now the trend is video podcasting. You might not be able to do it, but you can learn it as YouTube, right? There are events, there are webinars that teach you all these skills. So take those courses, attend those classes, read blogs. Yes, read blogs. Blogs are still a thing, and they still give the best information. So read blogs to stay updated. Okay. Another thing as a podcaster that can keep you motivated is to celebrate your successes and progress. Don't forget where you started from, and don't forget that where you started from is not where you are today. Yes. People usually overthink and say, oh, I just have 500 followers. Imagine this. Imagine yourself in a hall and you have 500 people listening to you. Is that not huge? So on social media, people might say, oh, it's small. No, imagine 100 people in a hall listening to you. That is huge. So don't look at it like a small thing. Nothing is too small. What matters is that you are doing the work. You are moving on. You are not giving up. Celebrate that. It's a success. Celebrate that progress. And celebrating will help you to stay motivated, encouraged, and continue creating high quality content. I'll give you a tip in celebrating your successes. Write it in a journal. So maybe this month you got a very high ticket guest. Write in your journal. Oh, in January 2025, I got a really good guest that I'm so proud of. Or maybe one week you edited your episode and you did not do so much editing, and or it was just perfectly well done. That is a huge thing. Write it down. Or you went for an event and you collaborated with some people. That is a success. Write it down, because later when you get down, just like I said, you check for your why. You can also go back and read those successes. That will make you happy. That will make you motivated to do more. Okay. Now, as podcasters, most of us, we do podcasting alongside other things, right? And that can be a challenge for us, because we're like, how do I record my episodes? When do I edit my episodes? When do I promote my episodes? Now, let me tell you what you should do. Manage your time. Prioritize your tasks. There's something someone told me. I think that should be Harvest Nova. You know, he did not tell me. I attended an event from APVA last year on avoiding burnout as an audio creative. I remember this because it has helped me till date. He said, you pick out one day, 1 hour, and give it to your podcast. So for example, today is Wednesday. I will pick out Thursday by maybe 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. and I do nothing except something related to my podcast. So maybe that hour I write my script. That hour I design my promotional assets. That hour I reach out to my guests. I've done something for my podcast. We've moved on. Then maybe the next day I can pick out another hour of my day and prioritize something for my podcast there. Now, when you do that, that will break down that load of tasks to do and will give you enough time to figure out how to continue your podcast and at the same time manage your other aspects of your life. So effective time management is very essential, and it will help you stay motivated because you will not feel overwhelmed anymore. You'll be able to create a schedule. You'll be able to stick to it. You'll be able to get things done, which is the most important, right? Finally, I guess, yes, for this is also overcoming self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Just like I said, my story as an African podcaster, starting my podcast during the pandemic, or was it after the pandemic? Around 2020, I saw podcasters that had been there for a while, and not necessarily Nigerian podcasters, other podcasters that were really doing good. I felt bad. I felt bad because I was like, oh, my podcast is not that good. The sound is still somehow. What was wrong again? It was not necessarily my numbers, majorly my editing. I was not so impressed with my editing. And I learned something. If you can't really do that now, learn from those people. The person that taught me that is Rodney. So Rodney has an episode on that. So like, if you can't really, was it an episode or he just, I don't know, but that was from Rodney. Rodney of the Young God podcast. He was like, you should learn from other people. You can copy what they do, but don't just copy word for word. Learn it, copy it, put it for yours, and make it yours. Make it in your style. For example, there's a podcaster I would listen to, and they do their edits whereby there's the intro sound, and there's the voiceover, and there's the guest voice before the host voice, all those kind of things. I like it, right? There's nothing wrong in copying it. What matters is how you do it. You don't go and copy their soundtrack. You don't go and copy their same words. No, you copy the format, make it yours. And honestly, that would help you to avoid doubting yourself, imposter syndrome, because you would not see anything as competition to you. You will not see anything as above you. Instead, you see something like a learning point. You see it like a learning point. So first of all, also you need to recognize that you have such feelings too. Because some people deny themselves that, oh no, I'm fine, nothing it's okay. It's okay to also admit that, okay, this person seems better than mine. This person's podcast art, it looks good, right? But don't stay on it. Stay on the fact of, okay, how did they do it? Should I ask them? Okay, let me ask them. Let me learn from them. That is how you should go. Um don't put yourself to the ground based on other people's beautiful works and stuff. You can do it, so maybe you just don't know how to do it, right? Focus on your strengths, because the truth is that everyone has their own strengths. Mine might be graphics design. I'm good at that. Mine might be podcast management in general, like figuring out how to manage my podcast well and not get burnt out and stuff. Mine might be content creation. Yours might be audio editing. Yours might be guest invites. You don't know. So focus on your strengths, your accomplishments, and don't forget to remind yourself of your why. Okay? Now keep creating, and a happy Africa podcast day to you. Once again, my name is Gracie from APVA. And if you would like to join us, join the community, go to www.apva.africa. We are waiting for you. Thank you so much, and let the show continue. All right, thank you.